it's like the thing that he said about hey, I like division in decades.
It's been a while. Yeah.
I know it's been a while.
All right, boys. Well, let me kick this off and then we'll dive into it. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Cantina MX Football Podcast. We have a great panel tonight. We're going to be talking about Diego Coca, officially the head coach of the national team. From our last episode, he was just a front runner. Some comments that were made today. And obviously talk about Liga MX, some Chivas, some America, and Cruz Azul just got a new head coach. He goes by Tuca Ferretti. So we're going to go all into it. But before I go any further, just want to let you all know we're live on Twitter Spaces and YouTube. So hop on. Feel free to request to speak, and we can hear your thoughts. But first, let me welcome everyone. We have Super Elbow coming in. How we doing?
Gentlemen, all is well, man. Looking forward to hearing some of the takes and having our friends speak up on their thoughts of particular what Ron's going to bring up in a little while.
Oh, man. I'm excited to talk about later. But before I do that, I got to check in with Ron. Ron, how we doing?
Good. How you guys doing?
Yeah, we're doing good, man. Can't complain. Chivas in the top 4, top 5. Where are we? I've lost track, but we're doing good.
Uh-huh.
But Ron, you had some comments on Iaragori today. He basically said that what exactly did he say? Something about relegation, how we might adopt the MLS.
He said that that personally he likes promotion and relegation. But one of the things that he had, that they have to consider is that a good chunk of Liga MX's fan base is in the U.S., and the U.S. fan promotion relegation is not a thing. It does not exist. And obviously, by him saying that, you had a lot of people in the press, especially more so on the Mexican side, really, take a dig at him because of it. And honestly, I think it's uncalled for attacking him for that because, let's not be prude here. I mean, what he's saying is true. I mean, a lot of how they structure or how they make decisions across the board, from the national team to basically to the all the way to the women's game. Catering to the U.S. Mexican fan, whether be it recent immigrant or first generation or second generation or whatever. I mean, they cater to us over here, and that's true. And I mean, honestly, I said this before. I mean, if you're going to have a true promotion relegation system, that's fine. But you got to have all the teams independently owned, and we haven't had that in decades.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a time where basically just I think a couple years back, I haven't checked recently, but a couple years back, I want to say that out of the 20 teams or something, there was maybe 3 of them that were self-sufficient and autonomous, independently owned, and all the rest were basically subsidiaries of either subsidiaries or or uh, or basically owned uh, by a first division club. So what's the point of doing that? I mean, if you're going to criticize multi-property at the top flight, whether it was Televisa having Necaxa, Atlante, and San Luis and America, which that doesn't exist anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But now you have the Atlas, the Grupo Orlegui and the Grupo Pachuca with multi ownership. So it's stupid. You're not, and I think I made the comment a couple of weeks ago. you don't sell a Chevy Nova in Latin America, in a Spanish speaking country.
Yeah.
You don't. So let's stop being prudes here and let's accept the reality. We're Liga MX is not a European based, it's not a Euro based league. You know, it is a North American league, and in North America, we do franchises here. And one of the things I remember, I spoke a couple years back with Holly about this, about Mexico's, or the Liga MX's big four: Pumas, uh, Cruz Azul, America, and Chivas. And in many ways, they're not the big four because of the amount of titles that they have. It's basically the fan base.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that has to be is that those are serious institutions, serious clubs, franchises. You know, because one of the problems that fans in Mexico have had to deal with for decades, 30, 40 years back, is that you have so many mom and pop type ownership groups that pull the plug on they will pull the plug on a project. For example, La Piedad, Irapuato, Veracruz, where you'll have an ownership group. They'll go in there in the second division, they'll win promotion, and next thing you know, when they win promotion, they sell the franchise, they sell the rights, and then it's like, you realize how many times the fan bases get screwed over.
Yeah, for sure.
Morelia is a prime example.
Morelia got super fucked over.
Yeah, so it's like Chiapas. I mean, you basically you just pick a city, pick a market, anywhere on the Mexican map, and that market, I guarantee you, has been screwed over as a fan base. So it's like, for those fans, they say, you know what, fuck them, screw Morelia, screw Irapuato, screw Tampico, screw these guys. You know what? At least I know that next year I know that I know that Pumas is going to be there. I know that America is going to be there. I know that Chivas is going to be there. I know that Cruz Azul is going to be there. And that's why those teams, the big four, quote unquote, that's why they, whether they're doing good or bad, anytime they go elsewhere in the country, they fill the opposing stadium.
Yeah.
That fan base.
Happened
And I think,
happened to Chivas over the weekend. They played Pumas and they were at home, honestly.
yeah, yeah, and like I said, I mean, I think we're just let's just be real about it. We're not a nation that can support 18 18 clubs in the first division, 18 to 24 in the second division. We just can't do it for many reasons, socioeconomic, whatever, you know. But I think that in the long run, you can do what MLB, NFL, and NBA, and do the franchise. You basically guarantee an ownership group. I mean, that's what they want. These ownership groups, they want guarantees, and you can't blame them.
Yeah. No, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you look at Necaxa situation, right? They were able to somehow get U.S. investors owning 50% of the club, and as bad
But
as as bad as they are, I don't think they're going to get relegated anytime soon.
no, but I mean, that's not really the type of ownership group that I was expecting. I don't see
Eva
those.
Longoria,
Yeah, I don't.
sheesh.
That's I don't see them as a serious ownership group. In the long run. But I knew that the day was coming when you were going to have uh, foreign investors, and foreign investment, and I personally, I've stated, or I've mentioned this, many times. I mean, I'm not too thrilled on the prospect of Liga MX becoming a billionaires club with chic money and Asian money.
I don't
I
think that will
I mean,
happen.
you never
I,
know.
I
You never
personally
know.
think
I mean,
Izagordi is full of shit. I've completely got disagree with it, everything. The reason I think he's full of shit is because he said that the can't have relegation promotion because majority of the Mexican fans in America are not used to it. Well, let's be honest. Majority of Liga MX fans that live in the U.S. were first Liga MX fans before they became fans of MLB, NBA, NHL, or whatever. It's very rare to have someone that grows up on MLB, NHL, NFL, and then says, "Oh, you know what? I'm gonna become a Liga MX fan too."
Hmm.
So I gotta cater to them. let's be honest. What he's really saying, what he's really saying is, we have to make decisions that cater to the Mexican fan in the U.S. And he's using that as an excuse to get rid of all those teams that they just mentioned, Veracruz, Irapuato, Chiapas, whatever, and keep them non-existent and get rid of a couple other teams like your Mazatlans, your Querétaros, because what's going to be the final move within the next 25 years? They're
Merge.
going to combine the leagues. They're going to merge. It has nothing to do with the Mexican fan you not used to relegation. The Mexican fan doesn't care that MLB, NFL doesn't have relegation and they want Liga MX to be the same thing. What they are a fan of the soccer game, the fan of the game. And what is the fan of the game? Everywhere has relegation. It makes it interesting. It adds passion to it. Now, if we don't have enough teams or enough organization to have a second division and a first division, that's a different story. But don't come saying that you're doing it because you want to please the Mexican fan in the U.S. Let's be realistic. The World Cup bid joined the Leagues Cup, the Copa America being, every hosting that. They're all getting ready to merge. And like I mentioned, look at the map. All the southern Mexico teams don't have a presence in first division. And I think that's being done intentional as far as scheduling when they do merge. But I promise you, within the next 25 years, those two leagues merge.
Mm.
My generation. Keep in mind, '94 World Cup is what changed everything for at least for my generation.
Mm-hmm.
Because prior to that, unless you lived in the border, along the border, the Mexican U.S. Mexican border,
Mm-hmm.
Italian, wherever. But if you were further up, be it San Antonio, Houston, Dallas, Phoenix, and stuff like that, we only got access to maybe one game, Liga MX game, if we were lucky. Okay, so for us, we growing up, I did watch. We did watch more. I did watch more. American sports, baseball, NFL and stuff like that. But when basically when '94 came about, and then next thing you know, now granted, I didn't really watch MLS. I don't watch MLS. I'll be honest with you, but I watched the first couple games of the season. But what I'm saying is that you had '94, okay? You had the '94 World Cup, and then you had in '96 you had MLS, come about, and then around in '97. In '97, that's when they basically Univision brought in Galavisión, and then basically the floodgates opened. At that point, I don't care. I was actually I made a comment to a friend of mine. I don't. I've never seen I've never seen actually LeBron James play other than when he scored the goal. I've never seen a game. I've never seen one of his games played. Kobe, maybe a handful, but I haven't seen basically basketball since basically Olajuwon went to the what is it, the Raptors. After that, basically after '97, I quit. I quit basically. I other than the MLB, I pretty much quit NFL. I pretty much NBA. I haven't seen a full game in nearly 2 decades. Why? Because '97 happened is when Galavisión came in, and then next thing you know, Telefutura came around. I think 2000, and then 2000 they came in 2001.
Yep.
Azteca came first.
Yeah.
No, Azteca came first as Trece with the dish package, and then what do you call it? And then it switched to Azteca America. So then there came a point where in the U.S. you were able to watch every single game, whereas the Mexican in Mexico wasn't able to.
Yeah, but you're proving the fact that Gregori's full of BS.
No, it's not.
That no relegation, no promotion, because the Mexican fan in the U.S. is not used to it. You didn't say, hey, you know what? I have all these sports here, and Galavisión is now showing the channels, but I'm not going to watch it because they have relegation and promotion, and I'm not used to that. That doesn't happen over here. You still watched it, and you became a fan, and you stopped watching the American leagues. What he is saying is we might lose fans in the U.S. because we have promotion and relegation, and they're not used to it. So we got to give them something that they're used to. And even though back then in '97 there was promotion and relegation, that did not stop you from becoming a fan.
No, because I always liked soccer, and every time I would, every chance.
Exactly. So, but that's my point. You're proving a point that the fact that there was relegation and promotion, and you being a Mexican in the U.S. that was not a turnoff for you. He's saying it's a turnoff. So that's what I'm
Well,
saying.
it
He's
is
full of BS.
because I mean because the Mexicans fan, especially for my generation, I mean, I mean what going to the second division. I mean, really, who goes to the minor leagues? I mean, the minor
We're
leagues.
not
I mean,
talking about watching the minor leagues. We're talking about you wouldn't want to watch the league because there's promotion and relegation, and you're not used to that in the U.S.
I
So you're
know,
saying
but the
that it's
U.S.
a turnoff.
Mexican,
Will you
but the
say that
U.S.
the
Mexican.
majority of Mexicans that live in the U.S. would find that a turnoff? I don't want to watch Liga MX. I'd rather watch MLS because they have promotion and relegation, and I'm not used to how that works. Come on, it's full of shit.
No, it's not.
It is.
No, because here's the thing: the Mexican fan in the U.S. And the Cruz Azuls, you know, I forget the guy's name from back in the '60s and '70s. I mean, there's a reason why. There's a reason why, you know, after the World Cup, the 1970 World Cup, we went right to the playoffs. Why? The Super Bowl. Well, the first Super Bowl was what in 67, 60, 67, 68? The very first one. And the what do you call it? The back then the Liga, what do you call it? The Liga MX, you know, executives, they saw it like, whoa, wait a minute, this is interesting. This is making money. This is already. I mean, it was like even the first couple of years, you know, they took notice of what was the NFL was doing, and they copied the model of doing the playoffs. So I mean, we are a North American league in that
Yes.
sense, an American league in that sense.
But I'm
And
gonna tell
and
you why it's full of BS. Look at the Premier League. The Premier League has a huge presence in the U.S. There's a lot of
Yeah.
Premier League teams that have chapters throughout the cities, and
I
all
get
these
that.
Americans are huge Premier League fans. They don't say, "I do not like the Premier League because they have promotion and relegation, so I don't want to support a team that might get relegated at the end of the season. I'm gonna stick to American sports." If you like the game, you like the game.
Yeah.
Promotion relegation is not gonna change anything.
But
So it is
the league,
BS. Because how come the
the
leagues in Europe are not saying, "Hey, we want to cater to America. We want to cater to the dollar. Let's start doing playoffs instead of doing season-long tournament. Let's get
Mhm.
rid of promotion and relegation. Let's do everything to attract the dollar." Because they
the,
don't need
le-
to, but Liga
the
MX wants to attract the dollar. So that's the bottom of it. He
the
wants
league.
to attract the dollar. He wants to bend over and do what the MLS wants. Because at the end of the day, they plan on merging.
Basically, they're
Now
just trying to get all their ducks in a row.
the U.S. The U.S. based, you know, British expat fans that like, you know, like the people that watch the Premiership in the U.S.
Uh-huh.
It's totally different from it's totally different fan base from the ones that watch Liga MX.
Yeah. Basically,
So I
what
mean,
Habibi's trying to say is Liga MX is trying to get everything, all their ducks in a row for this inevitable like merger, if they
but
were to
this,
propose it or if it was to happen.
catering to the U.S. fan, the U.S. The U.S. based Mexican fan
Uh-huh.
is not something. It's been going on since the 1950s. I mean, Atlas, when they won their last championship, you know, I'm sorry, their first championship. You remember what year it was? It was in the 50s.
Yeah.
Where they played an exhibition
Where
against Manchester,
here?
and yes, rather than playing it in Guadalajara, no, it's they've been catering to they've been catering to the U.S. fan or the Mexican, Mexican, whether it's first generation, recent immigrant or whatever. They've been catering to that fan base for decades.
No, yeah,
And he's right.
This is definitely nothing new. Absolutely not.
No, it's not. It's not. It's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't really like focus so much on like his reasoning behind why there's no relegation and promotion. I think everybody here can read between the lines.
It hasn't worked.
Yeah.
It has not worked. You've rebranded it with 3 times in the last. I mean, in 93, 94, they rebranded it to Primera A. Then they rebranded it again to Ascenso, and now then it's what I forget what's the last one now called. So they've rebranded it with 3 times since 94, 93. Expansión. So it's they've rebranded 3 times. And not to mention one of my criticisms of the press in Mexico is that for years, when they referred to the second division, they used to refer to it La Liga del Calvario, so like it's the hell, like
Mm-hmm.
great, and it's like they didn't promote they didn't promote the second division well. I mean, they thought of it as it's like shit. You're going down to the minor leagues,
Yeah.
But I mean, that's the mentality that these people have had.
Is it because there's no money in it?
It's because you don't have serious investors that are willing to stick with a project. Like, as much as I'm not a big fan of Grupo Pachuca, I do recognize that they're a serious ownership group, and they went in there when they took over Pachuca. They went in there knowing that they were going to get relegated a couple times. And if I'm not mistaken, they were relegated twice in the '90s. Same thing with Tigres. I mean, they got relegated in the '90s, but
when did they like own Leon, or had they always been Leon Pachuca?
Leon, yeah, Leon was recent. Leon was recent. In
Oh,
fact,
okay.
before Grupo Pachuca took over Leon, Dulio Davino's father, who's a former player of Leon, he
Mhm.
was trying to get an ownership group. He was trying to get a group of investors to buy the franchise outright
Oh.
because there were there's issues with the the owner Cermeño, the big fat guy that owned nightclubs like I don't know, I think in Cancun or Acapulco, but they said that he had shady businesses. So they were trying to, that guy was always in trouble with the law. Go figure. Kind of like the dude from what's his name, Puebla. But like I said, that's one of the points that I'm trying to make is that there's these ownership groups that aren't serious, and they pull the plug on a project when it's not feasible anymore for them.
Mhm.
You know.
Yeah, but I think it don't
So,
attract any serious groups though, because the barrier to entry was so
but
difficult.
but
You gotta think
but
about it,
here's the
because one team goes up, you have what 18 to 15 teams in the second division, and let's say everybody had a serious project, everybody invested, everybody did their best to go up, but only one team is going up. You're not going to attract a lot of folks
no,
to
I
put
get
in
that.
serious money when only one's going to reward it, minimal two or three. And then
Mexico's
same
done that.
thing, the guys
They've
that are
tried
in
that
the
before.
first division, they're gonna make it a freaking hell for the second division teams. So when they do get promoted, most likely they're the one that gets relegated again to protect their
They
pockets,
they,
protect their money.
they've done that before in Liga in the history of the league where they've had two or three teams go up and down. In fact, back in the '70s,
Mm.
they had they used to have the relegation playoffs. Like the last team, or I'm sorry if I recall. I don't have the stats in front of me, but it was basically the last team. Boom, they went automatically down. But the second to last and the third to last, they would do a playoff amongst each other.
Uh-huh.
And back then, that was seen as an insult that you're having a playoff and you're basically rewarding mediocrity. Like, why would you have a playoff?
To
For
stay.
that.
Yeah.
So I mean, they've tried it throughout. Like if you look back at if you look back through Liga MX, basically starting from the '70s, when the playoffs started, they have tried so many formats as to what works, what won't work, and stuff like that. So I mean, they've tried these things
Mhm.
where like, hey, well, maybe if we give three franchises, from the second division a chance, but I ultimately it goes to two things. You don't have serious ownership groups, and two, that a former Atlante, what's his name, executive, the one that recently criticized Coca, um, basically said that when you go down from the first division to the second division in Mexico, you basically lose 80 something percent of your
Revenue.
of your revenues.
Yeah. You know what?
So in other words, Liga MX is going to be the NFC and MLS is going to be the AFC. Is where we're heading.
It could be.
That's an interesting concept. How would you guys feel about like kind of like how they do it in baseball, where your minor league team is associated with like a professional team? I know Chivas have Tapatio, and then there's like Rayados, and there's
They've tried that, bud. They've
yeah,
tried that.
and not
And
necessarily
keep-
not necessarily have them like compete to get promoted, but that's basically your farm team, and you take your stragglers and you put them in there, and then it's just like a self-sustaining thing, you know? I don't know if maybe that's
So,
the route they're gonna end up going.
so like for example, like Chivas a couple of years back, I think about a decade maybe back, 15 years back, Chivas, like for example, America owns Zacatepec, and basically they had their under 23s and 20s play on that team.
Uh-huh.
Chivas had, I think they had the Tijuana Nacional or
Toras?
something like that. Yeah, something like that. So basically, every team, like just about every team in Liga MX
Right,
had a team.
right.
Yeah,
It was Chivas Tijuana.
Chivas Tijuana. That's the one. What's up, bud? How
Oh.
you doing, man?
Nacional was independent name. Good, good. All right. Sorry, go on.
So,
Go on.
so they basically changed the format, and rather than having those subsidiary teams, uh, they basically had now every club now has to have the under 20, the under what is it, under
17.
20,
Yeah, you
17,
20
15,
club. Yeah.
13. So, and now they play amongst each other.
I see.
Like I said, I have to. I mean, I had the same sentiment that what's his name Iragorri has. That personally, yeah, I think if we could do we could do a proper promotion relegation, sure, but we haven't been able to do it. So why are we why are we
Entertaining the idea
trying
still.
to yeah, it's like there's no need for it. It
Yeah.
hasn't worked.
It's such a shame though, because there are like a few franchises that I would love to see back in the first division. You look at Atlante, right? The history that they have. I would love to see them back in the first division, especially when you got like ass hats like Querétaro and Mazatlan. It's like, yeah, Morelia as well. That should be in in the first division.
Tecos has completely disappeared now, man.
Who?
Well, somebody said
You
they
know,
were in the third division, no?
Who?
Tecos?
No, I said Tecos is actually one of the
Estudiantes, no?
that I can recall Tecos has been the only team that started in the third division and went and basically got to the first division the right way, meaning they won third division, they won second division, and then they got to promoted to the first division. Whereas other teams, like for example Santos Laguna, they basically bought a franchise,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
you know. But to their credit, since they bought the franchise, they've never been relegated. You know, Tecos was another team like that they had never been after winning promotion, never been relegated. Pumas has been like that. Cruz Azul's like that. Toluca's like that. You know.
Which teams have never been relegated?
Okay, well, there's only two teams that have always played in the first division and never in the second division because they're the founders, and that's America and Chivas.
Damn.
Okay. So those are the only two teams that have never played in the second division
That's
and
crazy.
have always maintained the first division.
So Cruz
Now,
Azul?
in teams that Cruz Azul was in the second division.
Damn.
Okay, but after they won promotion, they've never been relegated. So that is Toluca. That's Toluca. That's Pumas.
Damn.
Toluca, Pumas, Cruz Azul, Santos. I'm trying to think. Shit. Atlas, no. Pachuca, no.
Monterrey, no.
No, Monterrey, no. In fact, they actually got relegated a couple years early on in the season when like 7 of their players died in a bus crash, and they just weren't able to maintain. Yeah, in fact, I think they were. What is it over there? What is it? Lagos something over there in Jalisco. I forget the name of the town.
I'm looking at the list
yeah.
right now, and it says America, Guadalajara, Toluca, Pumas, Cruz Azul, Santos, Tijuana.
Okay. Yeah, Tijuana. I forgot about Tijuana. But
Yeah,
everybody
they're
else,
a baby though. They're too young.
Yeah, they are a baby. But they are a baby. But like I said, I mean, everybody else, and that's also one of the things that the teams that have won promotion and relegation, for the most part, in the past couple of years, León, Pachuca, Tigres, Necaxa, Atlante. So it's so even the teams that go up and down, it's usually the same cast of characters. It's not like Irapuato goes in there and maintains a long run. It's not like Tampico hasn't been since what, the '90s when Tampico lost it.
Yep.
You know,
That's what it was.
they have
Veracruz, all that stuff. Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, it's not like they've been back.
Yeah.
Ultimately, like I said, it's you're going to expand, but I guarantee you, none of you guys would do the exact same thing that the League MX owners are doing right now. Protect your interest.
I would do the same thing. I just wouldn't give a bullshit excuse. I say the honest truth. I mean, hey, let's be honest. We can't maintain first and second division. I'm not gonna get some BS excuse that we have Mexican fans in the U.S. that are not used to promotion relegation, so we don't want to scare them away.
I have a question. Would you guys be opposed to a team buying their way into the first division from the second?
No, they've done it before. They've already done Santos did it.
Like
Remember
we're
back in '99 when Unión de Cortidores won promotion, and then like within a week, who's the one that bought them out?
Well, Mazatlan did it just recently, and
Yeah, this has
Veracruz
happened
did it too.
in the last decade. Yeah.
Yeah, it's happened a bunch of times.
Yeah, a bunch.
No,
of,
but
bunch
I'm
of,
but I mean like because we're at 18 right now, but I'm saying like we would expand to like 19 or 20 teams.
So no, they went to
happen.
20. They went to 20 teams, but then they went back down to like they went down to 17 and then back to 18. But yeah, it's happened it's like going back for like remember Chiapas, bought like I think Veracruz's franchise, and then like remember a couple of years back, like maybe about 10 years back, there was Veracruz, but then the real Veracruz came back.
Two Veracruz.
And now that Veracruz with Curi got into some trouble, and it's funny because I've been keeping up with they're remodeling El Pirata Fuente.
Yeah,
right?
they're gonna. Are they gonna rebuild it or something?
Well, I'm a little upset because they need to put a shrine where they where they fucking where Cuauhtemoc basically hits
that needs to be a that needs to be a monument right there.
That's 20 years next month. 20 years.
Oh man.
Yep.
Ron, and Veracruz.
But going. Oh, sorry. So hey, but here's the thing with Veracruz. So the state of Veracruz is basically investing money to remodel this because they want to bring back the first division.
But they can't use the Tiburones name.
Right, and I retweeted that where you had the governor of Veracruz saying that because of so and so general, so it was basically throwing shade at Curi, right? That because Curi is still maintaining, he's still saying that
the rights, no?
Veracruz. He apparently so.
Franchise. He owns the franchise.
He
owns the name.
The name.
He owns the history. He owns everything. The colors, everything.
Minus the stadium.
Minus the stadium, but so
he also
now
owns the money he didn't pay out to the players, right?
So yeah. So, I mean, so if you're a kid, so if you're a fan of Veracruz, and you've always been a Tiburones Rojos fan, and then a new team.
Now you're going to be a Buccaneer.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to care around.
No, they will. Because ultimately, they know that maybe in 5 years, they're going to pull the plug on that project. And you know what? At least I can still root for Chivas. At least I can still root for Cruz Azul. I can still root for America.
Ron, I wanted to ask if you remembered when there was a two Veracruz. So one playing in first and one in second. And I guess I wasn't paying that much attention, but were they wearing the exact same uniform? I know they're wearing the same colors.
They were wearing the same colors, but one of them wasn't using the Tiburones Rojos. Because if I recall, I think it was the one. If I recall correctly, I'd have to look it up. But I think the imposter, basically went to Chiapas, if I recall.
What year was that? So, you got me remembering all of that right now.
Oh man!
I'm not in front of my computer, dude. I don't remember. I want to say this was in the early 2000s.
Oh wow.
So like 07 or something like no.
No, earlier. It was earlier.
Wait, was Cuauhtemoc playing for them?
Cuauhtemoc played in no, he played in 04. Yes, because in 05 he came back because 04. Remember he had the round of fisticuffs against the Sao Cayetano players where they were throwing wheelbarrows and all that. You remember that?
No.
Oh, I remember.
Wait, the throwing the wheelbarrows, that was the America fans.
Yeah, I know, but that was in 2004. So they got fed up with Cuauhtemoc's antics because they thought he instigated it because he was throwing around his fisticuffs, So then
How did the stadium leave stuff like that, Ron? How did Azteca leave wheelbarrows and construction material during a game?
When you go to Azteca Stadium, there's like a moat around it. Okay, a small one. It's not as big as like the one from Veracruz. So I guess the groundkeepers they thought, hey, these guys are going to jump over, But yeah.
So you're nominating Cuauhtemoc hitting Faitelson as the logo for the new Veracruz team.
I mean, honestly, that's a putazo, something like that. That could be something that people from Veracruz can get behind. Like I remember a couple of, what was it, like 2 years ago, whatever, like the 500 years anniversary of the landing of the Spanish conquistadors in Veracruz. They were commemorating that, and it's like I don't know, like 2-3 years back, and just the memes reminding Faitelson that one of the most important events in Veracruz history was the landing of the Spanish. And el putazo. But yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's like I said. I'd like to see. I personally would like to see the franchise model in Mexico because, like I said, promotion relegation is you're going through the motions.
It's been a joke in Mexico, to be honest, for years. Ever since they went into the tabla de porcentaje, that was complete bullshit.
Yeah, they were trying to copy the Argentine league over that one.
Yeah, and it's also to protect the big team. So if you had one bad season, you weren't relegated because the percentage.
But here's the thing: that was the argument that I never bought into. That promotion, the coefficient, was there to protect the big team. I didn't. It actually helped the smaller teams because they could afford. You could afford to basically screw up a little, and in theory, that should have been used to basically help the smaller teams plan and develop, knowing that just because you had a bad 6 months. One bad season, you didn't have to basically pull the plug. You could still relax. You could still breathe a little.
I have a question about that. Because what happened to Colibri? Why were they relegated so quickly?
Because they bought into a franchise and they took it out because they were only there. They basically bought a franchise, so they accumulated that franchise accumulated points because remember the coach. Okay, so
what team was it originally?
Then, I forget, dude. I'm like I said, I'm not in front of my computer. But basically, the thing was that back then you had the coefficient. You had the percentages, the coefficient, the average, the way. So the aggregate. So that it took into account. 3 years, which is 6 seasons. But if you were, recently, promoted, it wouldn't, if you were recently promoted and you had the worst percentage, the points at the end of one calendar year, which is 2 seasons, and if you're last, boom, you're out of there. So that's why I've been saying that, if it waited 3 years, 6 seasons, it's not there to benefit America Chivas. It's actually there to benefit the Irapuatos and the
Yeah,
Pachucas.
but it would protect them in case of one bad season. You're not,
Yeah,
you're not out.
Oh, so
But especially,
they replaced Celaya.
yeah, but see, because my take is basically you have some of the teams, and it was only going to be a handful that are the money makers that are going to put asses in the seat and bring ratings. So you need them, and even the small teams need them because that's their payday when they play those big teams. That's when they make their money. So that was in a way also for like, you know, if we lose one of these bigger teams, it's gonna affect everyone in the pocket.
Yeah. Do you remember when Puebla, when what's his name, Bernat was the owner? Do you remember they played America? America went into Puebla, and mysteriously, the day after, the ticket office got raided, and they stole all the money. They stole all the money from the ticket sales.
Damn.
And they never found out who did it.
That's crazy.
Does that mean they don't have to give America their cut, dude?
No, it was an inside job. I mean, they were speculating that it was an inside job, and obviously, Bernat basically, because they made the report that criminals went in there and they took the money. So the money was insured, huh?
Yeah, so Colibri took over Celaya's position in first division. That's how they got in.
Yeah, so that's why they were only able to play 6 months.
Yeah. I almost forgot it. I was like, was that just like a dream? Because I remember as a kid that team. I was like, oh, Hummingbirds. That's an interesting team. I've never heard of them before. And yeah, they were just like a blip. Like came and went. Just like
there was a Azteca report. In fact, if you probably look for it, you could probably still find it on YouTube. But basically, I remember the first time when I saw this, the guy, the owner of Colibris, he was a businessman. He owned a now defunct airline, and I just remember, there was always reports of him being late, with paying the players. Yeah, with payment. So, and I just remember that the reporter from TV Azteca was basically, recording them, and he's right there paying the players cash. And I was thinking to myself, that looks so bad. Dude. That I'm saying that looks bush league.
Teams that were like a bleep, that's pretty much Lobos Buap.
Yeah, but they actually lasted an entire season.
I know, but still, it's like some people probably already forgot about them.
Them and Indios.
Oh yeah, that's
Indios de Ciudad Juárez.
I mean, that's why I keep saying that they're gonna merge. Because think about it, like Liga MX, you could get rid of Mazatlán, Querétaro, Puebla, Necaxa, San Luis, Juárez, and MLS. I mean, you could say the same thing. MLS, you could get rid of Colorado Rapids, Minnesota.
Nah, they're one of the OGs, bro. You can't get rid of Colorado.
Man,
I don't think there will be a merge.
Man, track nothing. Same thing with Chicago Fire next to the city, but like the team, like that team just sucks. Same thing with a couple others. Oh, like Cincinnati, same thing.
Austin.
It won't be a merge though. Not like this is the league. It's just gonna be a cup tournament, which might become like the bigger tournament, just the way Champions League is. Sort of like your Real Madrid, you're probably bored of winning the La Liga.
I mean, well, they're saying they want to track the Mexican customer in the U.S.
I hear an echo.
Is it me?
Yeah.
Are you sitting on the pothole?
No, I think let me.
He's He's on the pot.
No, I shouldn't have echo. I have I'm not using the receiver. Is it still there?
Well, if we talk, yeah.
All right, I'm gonna restart it. I'll be back.
What were you saying, Pastor?
No, I was just saying, I think they are going to merge it. 'Cause I had said this a few shows back. You know, the NFL revenue combined is superior to the top 5 leagues in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
And the MLS and both Liga MX are aware of the U.S. dollar with the strength because, you know, they see it with all the Molero games.
Yeah.
And everyone thinks the distance is too far. I mean, it's not even that far because, look, even like from Guadalajara to New York, if you do like a nonstop flight, it's like 5 hours and 11 minutes. Not saying, you know, Chivas is going to be playing all the East Coast teams, but they can definitely make it work where like parts of the teams are playing like West Coast and Midwest, and then the northern teams are playing U.S. Midwest and East Coast. And then you will also get rid of some teams because you would have to, probably like the northern ones with snow or something. But there's like 4, 6 teams from each league you could drop, and most people wouldn't care. And if you combine it, where now you have Chivas and America, and you know northern border teams playing official games that count for championship in the U.S., think all the money that's going to draw in. If Mexico could play its World Cup qualifiers in L.A. and Houston and stuff like that, they would.
Yeah. I don't know if the American investors in those small markets would be happy though.
What do you mean?
They would have because they paid their franchise fee. They would be upset if all of a sudden, you know.
Yeah, well, I mean that's something they would need to figure out. But as far as the teams come in, they'd be happy. Like I live in St. Louis, and America's coming for the Leagues Cup, and I was surprised by the reaction. All these like Americans in a small Midwest city like St. Louis know America, and they're excited that we have a big powerhouse team coming over. According to them, the owners are happy as well because they're gonna be able to spotlight the new stadium against an important team, you know, per their words. So I think a lot of folks would be open to it because
Wait,
it
who's
would
in
make
St. Louis?
What's that?
What MLS team is in St. Louis?
It's new. They're about to have their debut season.
Oh,
St.
they're
Louis,
new. I'm like, what the
Yeah.
fuck? I'm like, there's no St. Louis team. Damn, that's crazy.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. I mean, it would increase the value of a lot of, you know, like Monterrey and Tigres. They're trying to go international with their branding as far as their money and everything. I think a lot of teams, a lot of owners on both sides would be content with it because it would increase the value of their franchise exponentially. Anywhere from,
Mm-hmm.
like, I think LAFC is what, valued over $1 billion now?
That's crazy.
They're like the first soccer team in the MLS to be valued over that much. It's like 1 point something billion.
Is there even a Mexican club valued at $1 billion? I don't think so.
No, I don't think so. So why would they be
Damn.
opposed to that? All they gotta do is do more transparency as far as like the financials and the numbers. But you see America already making the moves by splitting Televisa and America as its own business structure.
I think
Like,
we'll.
I just feel like the signs are there. I'm not saying it's gonna happen in the next 5 years, but I wouldn't be surprised if in the next 20, 25 years there's some form of merge.
We'll see what happens in the summertime with this Leagues Cup. Obviously, it's like a beta test, and if the numbers make sense, freaking Joel, man. Mute yourself, dog.
Why is echo?
Yeah. He's got to fix his audio. No, the Leagues Cup is basically like a.
Speaking of St. Louis,
Huh?
Speaking of St. Louis, speaking of St. Louis, did you ever watch the movie National Lampoon's Vacation?
A long time ago.
Us veterans have.
Like when when they pull into St. Louis at night and ask for directions, and Chevy Chase,
Nah, I
ask for
haven't.
directions, and they go, "Fuck no, mama." Thank you.
Nah.
Never mind.
Yeah, it's an audition. You know, we'll see if the numbers make sense. I think Liga MX and the MLS are very curious to see the numbers, the TV ratings, the views, the attendance, and obviously if the numbers make sense, then it will make for a strong recommendation of maybe
Well, there
increasing
was
I would say just increasing the frequency of these opportunities. But as far as like a full blown league, I I just don't see it happening, man.
I see it
What
happening
question?
because
Are you
look
going to
at
be attending? Are you going
Real
to be
Madrid
attending?
pushing for the Super League. Even Tony Cruz came out and said, fans are saying, who will want to watch Manchester City versus Real Madrid every week in, week out? And Tony Cruz said, I never got tired of watching Federer versus Nadal face each other hundreds of times.
Hmm.
So even the players in Europe are pushing for, a higher level of competition, which in this case would be the Super League, and having the top of the tops just consistently play each other, and obviously taking out the small guys, which is what fans are opposed to. But I just feel like everyone's moving in that direction as far as revenue, because you gotta realize, it's not just the business, but it's also entertainment. So like the other
Hmm.
day, Querétaro and Mazatlan played. Who in their right mind is watching Querétaro versus Mazatlan?
I'm watching the regulation battle in England because it's pretty damn entertaining.
But that's relegation battle.
Y-
There
Yeah.
ain't no regulation between Querétaro and Mazatlan. Now they were getting relegated. Yeah, I definitely watched. See who's gonna survive, who's not.
Yeah. It's one of the reasons why I love the Prem League so much. It's like, yeah, you have your top four, battling for the league, but the league itself can be broken into like three different battles. You got the teams fighting for the title, you got the teams fighting for just a spot in the European tournaments, and then you got the relegation battle, and that in itself is pretty entertaining. So I like how that league is set up. In Mexico, obviously, things are a lot different here. I think Ligia is going to continue to be the money maker, the breadwinner. Um, don't really want to talk too much about MLS, but I do have to bring up the fact that they have announced like their playoff schedule or playoff bracket for this year, and it's very confusing. They're taking like the top 7 teams from each conference, and then they're gonna do like a wild card for the remaining like 8 and 9 spots. They're just gonna fight it out, and then they're gonna do like a best of 3 in the first round, which is very confusing. I don't know
It's
why.
the dumbest thing in the world.
Yeah, it's like you have to win best of 3, and it's home, away, home. And I'm like, dude, like that's fine. You guys can do this, but just Liga MX don't get any ideas. That's all I'm saying.
so they're going kind of a baseball style, is what it's sounding like
It's very
for their
confusing.
playoff system. Yeah.
And the teams were
Yeah, I just think
informed today, like the league kicks off like less than a week or something. And it's like they just found out today how they're going to qualify for the playoffs.
yeah, I just think it's stupid because like, Elbow's saying it's like a baseball thing, but baseball's not as physically demanding as soccer. Or even if you look like at basketball, hockey, it's on the smaller space as far as the court and the rink. But you're having players run anywhere from 8 to 13 kilometers per game, and having to do that 3 times. And imagine the first one ends 1-1, the second one ends 2-2, and then the third one it ends 0-0, and they go to PKs. It's like we should have just done the ida y vuelta and go to PKs. Obviously, it's a revenue move. I guess they're copying that off Liga MX, trying to make juice it as much as possible. But I just think from the physical demand that you're putting on the players, it's just worthless.
I think from my understanding is the matches cannot end in a draw, and it's like the goals are not like accumulated. So it's like it's just like you win the match,
How
It's
much? How much did Apple influence this?
huh? Oh
How
yeah,
much did
that's
Apple?
that's a that's a very good question. I know for sure Apple made the call on this one. I don't know why though. It's like have they not have the executives at Apple never watched a fucking game of soccer? Like odd numbers just
I don't know.
don't fucking work, man.
When I read about, I didn't really, read into detail like how the whole MLS, but I was reading just little bits of it that was a little complicated. and it didn't make sense. And I just read some comments on Twitter saying that Apple basically had something to do with this. And like the first thing I thought about was like like the first Super Bowl where because of the TV
Uh-huh.
they had to redo a kickoff because the network called for it. So during the game, they had already kicked
Oh.
off and stuff like that, but they missed it, whatever. So basically the network said, guys, you got to do it over again. But hey, they pay the bills.
I
So
think
you got to listen to.
MLS should have saved Gordy's BS excuse for themselves. They should have said, we're switching over because our fans are used to watching leagues that have this format. So that's why we're doing it. It would have been more believable on the MLS end.
Well, did you see what I think it was Neville, the coach, that's criticizing.
Yeah, he was talking hella shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think there was a famous football game, right? I want to say it was a Raiders game. It was like the Heidi Bowl. Like they weren't able to continue to like cover the match because it was cutting into the other.
To the movie Heidi, yeah.
Yeah. It's like that's crazy, bro.
It's all in the 70s. Networks rule. That said, you had me thinking when you were talking about like having some sort of like Supercopa or something like that, and somebody mentioned the ratings, and I'm sitting here thinking, well, I think was it Ron or Joel that were talking about streaming. At the end of the day, everything's going to go streaming at some point.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be whoever pays the whole streaming fee. Was that you, Ron, that was bringing up the whole streaming wars?
Well, yeah, because the streaming wars. Because back in the '90s it was the TV wars. Now it's going to be the streaming wars. Eventually, it's it's going to have to get better. Yeah, a couple weeks back, Maca, the former Medio Tiempo guy, had a hell of a take on the streaming chaos in Mexico. What's the name? Mauricio Cabrera, Maca.
Yep.
He had a very, very good video, short reel, just talking about how stupid Liga MX is handling, the whole streaming viewing, because it really is hard. I mean, and it's funny because for the fan in Mexico, in the U.S., it was a lot easier to watch the games. Now, and it's funny because the fans in Mexico, living in Mexico, they were the ones that complaining, and like, for example, like, and one of the common things that they complain about is that it's been a while since I've watched a game in Mexico, but like on the TV. But like when I see screenshots of people complaining about just the amount of ads that they air during the game, where like sometimes you can't even see the game.
Do they? And
what's that?
Do they?
I don't remember which ones. I don't know if it's Sky or I don't remember who, but
it's like and stuff.
No, but it's like, I mean, I think he was dead on with just the sentiment that many fans now on both sides of the border feel when it comes to how to watch Liga MX, because it used to be so easy, at least for the ones living here.
Oh yeah, no. Now I'm clicking around to ESPN Deportes, Fox Deportes, freaking TUDN, Telemundo, and I guess now they're throwing in the whole what is it, VIX?
Yeah.
So yeah, no,
dude, I hate VIX so much.
I regret letting go of cable. I really do.
Yeah, but you can't even watch soccer on cable anymore, dude. I mean, you have to have like the right package to cover all your bases. In fact, if you go to soccerchronicle.com, I made an article explaining how to watch Liga MX in this season.
I saw that.
And it's you need to have like a freaking master's degree to figure it out. But I will tell you, my experience with VIX Plus is just absolutely horrible. They've done that Champions League, unfortunately. So like today's match, Napoli versus Frankfurt, you had to have VIX to watch it, and no matter like if you're paying for it or like you have to watch 2 unskippable ads if you decide to like click into it, and it's very annoying because like the game is happening, right? At first I was very confused. I'm like, is it halftime? Like, why am I seeing ads right now? This is a paid subscription. No, there's 2 unskippable ads before you even get into the action. So yeah, it's the worst, man. Absolute
Now,
worst.
who owns VIX? Because it's not Univision, is it?
I think it is because I mean it's the same network.
So I guess to me, aren't they undercutting themselves by having done the Teuden, which was supposed to be where they were playing their soccer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now they have VIX where they're going to play other games. So
yeah,
is it not a little bit of an undercut?
I don't understand the idea behind it.
Univision really screwed themselves over by losing the World Cup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean that's kind of like that's in a way that's kind of their downfall. Which I actually like their shows a lot better, but they really screwed up by not outbidding Telemundo.
Well, sometimes they would, I was actually excited the fact that you could watch Champions League football on an antenna. You could watch it on Unimas and Univision, and now it's like you have to have VIX Plus. I feel like the Unimas network, like they're just like, nah, we're not gonna give it to them for free anymore. And some Liga MX matches are also on VIX Plus, but it has a tendency to be like the smaller clubs. I think they've learned their lesson not to put like an America match or a Chivas match on VIX Plus because people just get really pissed off.
Yeah, but no, you're absolutely right. And like you were mentioning with Mexico shooting themselves in the foot as far as with streaming. If you want to watch like Premier League on Paramount Plus with Mexico, it's about $500, not $500, 500 pesos for the whole season. But if you want to watch like Liga MX, it's like 500 pesos a month. And obviously, if you watch legally, I mean, now just with the internet, everyone just finds that shady link to watch. But it's just crazy that you could watch a high-end product like the Premier League for 500 pesos for a full year. But to watch your own local league, you got to pay 500 pesos if you want to do it right every single month.
Yeah, people make like 300 pesos a day out there. I mean, some places, it's like that you can't afford that shit.
No, you can't.
And you get into some rural ass areas with no Wi-Fi. Joel, man, you gotta fix your audio, bro.
What happens when I clock in?
You sound very distant.
And if we talk, it's an echo.
Oh, one last chance.
Wherever you're doing the other episodes, just go back to that. Because, yeah, you sound distant. You sound like if you were on speaker and super far away.
I still think he's on the pot, man.
It sounds like it. Well, we've made an hour without talking about actual Liga MX matches. Cruz Azul got rid of El Potro, and they've had a few names in the hat. It was crazy. I was watching Fútbol Picante, and like Hugo Sanchez is on there, and like the head. You know how they always had like the headline under the scoreboard, the ticker, and they're like Hugo Sanchez is being considered for the Cruz Azul like team. And I'm like, this is weird that you're like breaking this news, and the guy that you're talking about is like part of the panel. And Hugo Sanchez was like very like proud about talking about it. I'm like, dude, I don't think they're gonna call. I don't think they're even considering you. And they end up going with Tuca Ferretti. I wish Ab Diaz was here to take his to have his hot take because he's a Cruz Azul fan. But what do you guys think of Tuca Ferretti coaching Cruz Azul? It feels weird.
It doesn't make sense because Tuca is the kind of guy that likes having full control, like at Tigres. And if you look at Cruz Azul, you got like multiple influences, people fighting with each other within the institution. It's not going to be institution and ownership that's going to give him the full control he's looking for. I think it's a 3-year contract. I would be surprised if it even lasts a year, to be honest.
I think Tuca just wanted to get back into coaching. Probably
Yeah.
still had that itch, right? And again, he's he's a proven winner, so they probably figured that might be the safe bet in trying to bring him in. I think Hugo probably really was a candidate because I know he'd been a candidate before when what's the name of the guy who broke the curse for Cruz Azul?
Reynoso.
Reynoso.
Yeah, when Reynoso got the job, he was a candidate then as well. But no, man, I hate to see Hugo sometimes because he just looks desperate, man.
He hasn't coached in a decade, man.
Yeah, it's a funny thing, right? His coaching career started in 2000, like
3 or 4? No.
Wait, what year was that? What year was that? When they won
when they won the first one against Chivas, that was 2004.
That was an 04. That was 04. That was first one was Chivas, and the next one was against Monterrey. But no, his coaching. I think his first coaching stint, if I recall, was the national team back in 2000 during that the U.S. Nike Cup or whatever.
That's right. Yeah.
And he brought hella Pumas players to that one, right?
Yep. And then he got the Pumas gig, and then he had a good little run there for a bit and gone. Part of it is I think he's been
well, he went to Europe
blows
after
his
that,
own
no?
horn. He's his own worst enemy, right? Just continues to blow his own horn.
Yeah.
But I would have liked to have seen him get the gig just to see what he still has left in terms of coaching. But for Cruz Azul, Tuca's probably the safer bet.
I'm going to try and bring Joel back in. Joel. Give it a shot.
Hello?
Yep. Sounds way better now.
All right. Thank you. All right. I'll let Codazo finish. I had a hot take from 20 minutes ago.
What is it?
Oh, you're done with the whole Hugo?
Yeah, you can talk.
Well, basically, on the talk of merger, because I don't see it as being a merger where, they are combining, but they're not becoming one league. So it's like Champions League. It's all the leagues playing the same tournament, but it's not, it's not its own. They didn't, do away with their individual leagues. And so we kind of won't, it's a possibility, but so we look back to when they wanted to do that in Europe and you had the G14 and it was like the top 14 teams of the different European leagues. And this goes back to 98 and they haven't been able to do that. And then just combine it into one league. And so if over here, if MLS and Liga MX were to combine, become one league, then that would just open the door for other mergers. And at that point, you're basically that's sort of like going against FIFA. So I know FIFA would fight it, and at that point, we would be looking at a split between club and national team, and we would see something like the World Cup and World Cup tournaments being played, and so then you would kind of have to choose what you want to see.
Career path? Yeah.
No, not career path. Like what you want to be seeing, like the national team, or you want to be seeing a club team, because they could do the World Cup and be like, all right, fuck it, World Cups every 2 years, so you'll have, everything would just pile on, and so national teams would now have way more games, and so that would become like, at least for TV, become the big competition, and so it would like change the whole picture. So
like for this that we've been seeing, like this like a cup between the two leagues. That's something that's been going on basically since MLS came into the picture, which they've kind of known uh, what's the most popular teams in the U.S. and it's been the Mexican teams. So it's always made sense for them. All right, well let's play against them. Let's try to have tournaments. It just teams in Mexico haven't taken them serious for many reasons. Sometimes the timing, and so it was like it just didn't benefit them. So, but I mean, I think eventually you would see, and then I've been telling you guys this, where they would invite teams from other leagues. So this cup would turn into its like own Champions League, and you would even see like South American teams.
That would
And
be
they
like
mentioned,
best case scenario.
well, I mean, but that's ultimately you have to start somewhere, and so that's why I've always been a bit surprised how all the pushback I see from fellow Liga MX fans, where there's like, I get it, I want to go back to Libertadores too, but at the same time, I wouldn't be against having our own tournament and starting that and being like the pioneers of that, of doing a tournament and the Mexican teams being like an important part of that, like of getting that tournament going.
Joel, but wouldn't that be treated a little bit more like a what's it called, a Mundial de Clubes? Because again, to get like if you start inviting other teams, like South American teams, for example, now you're running into the travel time issue. Like
Yeah, but
you're talking long
we
distances.
it is, but we saw it already, and so I guess I think it can work. We saw, remember them? What was it, Merconorte, right? So when
Oh shit!
we've had Mexican teams already in Libertadores, and it wasn't much of an issue, and so I do think it's just gonna come down to getting the calendar. But I do think if it's the tournament that blows up, like it's like say becomes its own Champions League, I do see like the top South American teams preferring this tournament just because there's going to be more money, and it's the bigger exposure and all of that.
The reason I see it as a merger is one, like you mentioned, other countries would start merging and whatnot. I just wait. Can you guys hear me? Say you're an echo. Am I good?
Yeah, I don't hear an echo.
No.
Yeah, you're good, man.
Okay, cool. So the merger, you gotta realize for the Mexico and the U.S., as far as their situation is unique. It's unique around the world as far as like the immigration and everything. Because like looking even like U.S. and Canada, there's not a huge influence of Americans in Canada and vice versa. Spain, Portugal, same thing. The Mexico USA situation is just unique, and you gotta realize we every single year this world becomes more globalized, more interconnected. So it would only make sense as well from them. They share that special thing. And then other countries doing it is not necessarily a bad thing. Like for example, like if in the Central Americas, like if Nicaragua, Guatemala, Salvador, Honduras, if they had one top league amongst them, so where the travel time isn't that bad, and instead of having like two, three good teams per country and the rest being shitty, now you could have a league of like 12 good Central American teams. You could do the same thing like with Peru and Bolivia, Venezuela. So it's not necessarily as they'd be something opposed to if the world becomes more globalized, more interconnected, and then only makes the game stronger. And then I don't think it would compete with the national teams because that's why you do have a Club World Cup, which is now going to be what 32 teams. I think South America gets 6 spots, CONCACAF gets 3 or 4, and then you'll still have the World Cup. But I just think that globalization and the unique situation that Mexico and the U.S. have, that can definitely lead to a merger. And like I said, I don't think it's within the next 10 years. I would expect something more like 20 to 25 years from now.
Well, it becomes for
look
players
how
because
far MLS has come in the last 20 years. So why that connection that they're growing now? Because that connection starting to grow now even more than ever. Why couldn't it happen in the next 20 years? Because it seems like they're giving us the warning signs on not just their actions but their words.
We'll see what happens. Take it day by day. Super Leagues Cup or Leagues Cup is in the summertime. We'll reevaluate what happens after that. Talking back to Liga MX action, we gotta talk about Rayados, man. Under Vucetic, they've only lost one game, and that was to the mighty Chivas in the first fixture of the season. After that, it's been 7 straight victories. And then the other team in Monterrey, Tigres, are right behind them with 18 points. You have America in 3rd, Pachuca in 4th, and Chivas in 5th. So far, how do you guys feel about the new league and about your teams?
So I'm not gonna lie, man, and I know you're gonna hate the sound of this, Jaime, but the Chivas team right now is really reminding me of a Vucetic team. They're defending well. They're getting some wins and some draws, and they're hanging in there like mid-table or mid 5th, right?
I don't
Yeah.
hate you for that, Codazo.
What's that?
I don't hate you for that.
Oh, I know you don't. Jaime's gonna punch me in the face, though, man. But
Like Buse was right. That's what I'm hearing from you. Buse was right all along.
oh, I'm not a Vuce hater.
Oh,
No, Vuce said that playing with Mexicans was a weakness, so I don't know if he was right all along.
But no, I think in chatting with our boy Pichichi the other day, he mentioned that there was some improvement this last game. I had people over, so I didn't get a chance to watch this last one, but he saw maybe a little bit more fluidity and in it. And I know we had talked about how on the preseason Chivas looked pretty fluid, that there was some pretty good cohesion. So I don't know. We'll see. Maybe there's going to be maybe they are starting to kind of gel a little bit. They know what.
Oh, you cut out there, Elbow. A lost Elbow. Can you guys hear me? Hello? Hello. Oh, man, did I lose him?
They're
Yeah, I could hear.
Oh, there he goes. There's everybody.
Yeah. Okay.
I think we lost you. I've been hearing him the whole time.
Oh, shit.
yeah, me too.
Oh shit, it's Jaime.
Yeah, it was
No,
probably
so
me.
Jaime, what I was saying is that that I think Pauno knows what he's working with now. He's not getting Jota back. He's not getting Alexis back. This is what he's playing with, and he's going to let them gel.
Wait. Did I miss out on something? What do you mean he's not getting Alexis back?
Well, he's injured.
Yeah, but wasn't he injured like for 3 weeks?
He'll be back.
Well, no. What I mean is like
2 years.
no.
It's true though.
No, I understand, but wasn't Alexis when he originally got hurt against Juarez? He was supposed to be like out 3-4 weeks.
It was like 3 to 6, no, or something. I don't know.
He originally got hurt like before he joined Chivas.
Yeah.
He came damaged. He's damaged goods. It's
salvage title.
He's like that car that you keep putting parts.
It's got like a different color fender. It's got like those cars you see on the road. It's got like the one fender that's like a different color than the rest of the body.
It's in primer.
And then it's got a big ass bumper on the back.
Gotta jump off, gentlemen.
All right, Ron. Thanks for hopping on.
All right, Ron.
Guys, I'll see you guys.
I will say, when it comes to the news that broke out last week, I was very sad, man. Like, such a tragic thing that happened to Jota Macias. Just like this dude was looking to come back. He looked good. He was in shape, and then to just like go through that again and to be out for another 9 months. And I've been talking shit about the physical trainers this whole time. I'm like, dude, our physical trainers are trash. Like, what's up with these injuries? And why the hell was he being like pushed so hard? Or like, I don't know, man.
Well, I think just from hearing a lot of the like these candid interviews with the players, and especially when if it's players that are no longer active, and you see how often they play injured
They
or
played hurt.
carry injuries.
Mhm.
Even if you guys remember seeing the Maradona documentary that was on HBO, and how they would just shoot him up with
Yep.
painkillers for match day.
Yep.
And this guy was and so I do think it's pretty common for a lot of these players, and it's sort of like, just hope that
No, I
it doesn't.
agree that that's actually a thing that's obviously like known, but I do see a specific pattern with Chivas and injuries. And Larcamon even mentioned it that the day before the news broke, he had mentioned that Chivas sent him a broken player, Canelo, and how
Damn.
they might have pushed him too hard to recover.
Yeah, that's another one right there. Or the players too. They're like, I don't want to miss a season, and then especially depending where they're at with their contract, and then this could cost me. It could,
Well, it was a
it is.
World Cup year, right? So they might have felt like, hey, I need to push through the pain and see if I can go make my way to Qatar.
Yeah, but I mean, it happens everywhere. Like, look at Tecatito. You remember Tata said hopefully he was gonna be ready in time for the World Cup. They're gonna wait till the last day for him.
Yeah,
Tecatito just came back with Sevilla like this week since August.
I know.
What the fuck was Tata thinking? What was the misunderstanding there?
What
Why
was
was
he?
he under the impression that he might be ready last minute?
What was he thinking with Raul too, man? That dude was not at 100 either.
Yeah, but
Came down to the faith he had in the Mexican player. That he thought those were the only two good ones.
Nah,
my
man.
guess
He
was.
was. I have a conspiracy theory that he was actually working for the AFA the whole time, the entire time, bro.
I think it's probably some promoter. I feel like something happened towards the last year, and it could just be the simple case of like a lot of shit just fell apart with like Torrado, and some of the guys that brought him in were gone. And that could be one, but I feel kind of like like a lot of people say, like he seems like to have just given up, you know.
He was mentally checked out, dog.
Yeah, you could see it in his face.
I saw him at the press conference at Levi's after they lost to Colombia after having such a great first half.
Oh yeah, man.
That dude was mentally checked out, and then he had that rant at the end of at that press conference, and it's like, why now? Why would you rant about this now, about all the issues with Liga MX? Why would you do it right before like a World Cup? And he just looked like he was done, bro.
I think he lost faith in the Mex players. I would like to see this interview. We'll probably see it like in 5 or 10 years. Tata tells all, and people won't care, but I'm obviously going to be listening. Like I still remember. They need to know.
Yeah.
No, and did he try to resign? So that's part of the other thing, right? So
supposedly, I mean, who knows? Because I mean, if he wanted to, he could have just been out. I don't think they put a gun to his head.
He could have just quit.
He could have just packed his bag and left. Just left a note on the table.
He was trying to get fired, because he's smart. He's like, if they fire me, I can collect unemployment. But if I put my 2 weeks in, I got to find another job.
Yeah. Hey, Jaime, I did want to touch on something that
yeah.
Henry Martin had a doblete, right, for America?
I don't watch America games, but sure. I know he's got like 9 for the season.
So in terms of national team right now, it's Santi and Henry Martin, right?
Unfortunately,
Fayez Mori.
Fayez Mori.
Fayez Mori.
Yep.
Hey, Ponchito Gonzalez is playing exceptionally well for Monterrey. I know he's not a striker, but he's playing like that Pocho level, that trophies level right now, where they should get a call up as well.
Punch, man. That dude, he looked good at Atlas, then he just fell off the face of the earth, went to Rayados. He's been okay. He's been an average like player, right? But I don't think he's taken over like a Luis Chavez's spot anytime soon, no?
I don't know about Luis Chavez, but this season he's playing really well for Monterrey.
I mean, I'll take him over Herrera any day. I do want to ask you guys a question based on the performance by Eduardo Chofis Lopez, and you can also throw in Pocho Guzman. Are these guys? Do they merit a call up to the national team now?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, they're like their team's best player for the most part. Why not?
Do you think Diego Coca will go for it?
I do.
Let's not even
At least
say
for
that.
a Molero. At least for a Molero, even if he doesn't see them as part of his team, he would probably just call them up, or like a friendlies or whatnot. But in the 4-year cycle, from start to finish, about 80 players will get called up to the national team. That's almost everyone in the Liga MX. Dude. You, your chances are pretty high of getting at least one call up.
I think you guys forget to remember that it's not necessarily always based on merit.
Yeah. There's a lot of players that would, and compromiso also that do in camps and whatnot.
I'm curious to see the first call ups, because it would be a strong indication of who's actually running this bitch.
I'm waiting for him to get fired.
You want Piojo? Because
no, I don't want Piojo. I don't know, man. Something.
That's
if we
the
have
thing
any
is
Argentina fans out there, it ain't you, it's us. We're the problem, not you. The problem I have with Mexico is that los argentinos nos pintan la cara de pendejos, and we still go back to them like as they were our saviors. It's like that one toxic girl that mistreats you, and you just keep going back to her. It's like, what are you guys doing, man? Like in Argentina, they talk smack about us. They don't respect our league. They don't respect our national team. And then you go up there. Even Matias Almeida said it. Mexico le da de comer al fútbol suramericano. And then you go and get them as your saviors. You experience a situation like with Tata, where you even question his credibility if he tried his best to beat Argentina. And what's the thing you do? You go get an Argentino. If you don't want to get a Mexican, you should at least went and got somebody else.
I do think they should have gone with the Mexican coach this time around, but for whatever reason they went this way, right? So, I mean, honestly,
what has Diego Coca done, dude? Like, he won the bicampeonato with Atlas, which had a lot of suspicions, with a lot of calls. Like, at least go for the guy who's playing with Mexican young players and is playing attractive football like Almada and Pachuca.
Yeah, I can't even list one player that he's debuted that was Mexican.
That's what I'm saying. I just think the whole assignment was just politics.
And I'm sure Tigres were not happy with all this. This guy was supposed to be their gallo, and you get rid of Piojo, you have this plan, and and all of a sudden, it's like, sorry, dog, you were a backup plan. My actual plan was to be coach of the national team.
And I'm curious to see how much the national team is paying him, because he was like the best paid player in Liga MX with Tigres.
Coach?
It was like $3-4 million easily.
Best paid coach, you mean?
Yeah. So if he walked away from $3-4 million with Tigres, how much is Liga MX paying him a year? I mean, FMF.
Is he really making the most out of everybody?
He was the most paid coach when
Oh,
he signed
shit.
with Tigres.
Damn.
So that's another thing that pisses me off. Like, you guys are gonna throw what, $7 million a season to this guy?
I'm actually
What has he like
curious
truly done?
what his salary is for the national team. I wonder how much Tata made. I'm very curious to know that.
I think Tata was like top 5 best paid at the World Cup.
Damn.
I think the number 1 was the guy from Germany. Yeah, he was
Damn.
definitely number 1, but I can't remember the other ones. But Tata was top 5.
No fucking way, dog. Sheesh, that pisses me off even more.
But no, you want to be careful what you wish for, Al. Is I honestly think if Coca doesn't last long, or even if he does last a little bit longer, we think it's going to be Piojo.
Nah, don't say that.
No, it's the truth, man. I really do.
It feels like he burned some bridges.
Yeah.
No, he's in Tijuana, and that's pretty much.
And he is off to a great start, losing to Chivas and America in less than a week.
He has 2 years to get it together.
I think
I see him as sort of a bombero, right? Like if
yeah, and that's what they're gonna remember at the end of the day. But he's a good coach. I mean, I think he'll eventually straighten that ship.
he is not a good
with
coach.
Tijuana. His numbers say so, man. His numbers are really good.
How many titles has he won?
I think it's one. Yes, it has just 1 or 2.
If only there was a way we could look it up, right?
If only there was, yeah.
He has one Liga MX title, and he's a great coach. Is that all it takes?
Yes. Dude, people are on La Volpe's nuts, and he only has 1.
Yeah, but La Volpe did do well with the national team.
I know, but look, I could argue that Piojo did better. His World Cup to me was better, way better. Even played way better, and against better opponents. And then his Copa America with a bunch of scrubs.
Yeah, but you can arguably say that the 2006 squad was probably one of the worst squads we've had in the World Cup.
That's true. Like talent-wise, I would put.
Come on, man. We had Omar Bravo as our fucking delantero with Kikín Fonseca. I mean, that's
I know, but that's who La Volpe chose. He left out.
Well, that's because we didn't have anything.
Blanco. You had Cuauhtémoc Blanco. You had Bofo Bautista. There was other players. He just went with the ones he thought worked the best for him. And some of those were coming out of a pretty.
So Piojo's honors are Clausura 2013 with América, Apertura 2018 with América.
So yeah, one and one when he came back.
Copa,
right?
Copa MX 2019, Campeón de Campeones 2019.
And he won the
Gold Cup in 2015. Yeah.
Yeah, and his Copa America was scrubs though, was good, man. He at least how they played, because everyone was expecting a wash. Didn't they tie Chile? Didn't they pull a tie and it was in Chile?
Actually, I think they did, yeah.
I mean, this dude, the big reason they wanted him. Chile was like, yeah, give us Piojo. And that was, they almost...
And I think Piojo is more effective in small doses, right? So if you don't give him a full cycle, he has less of a chance to self-destruct, right? So
we've been seeing that at the World Cup. Some of the coaches that came in last minute ended up doing better than coaches that had been there for, like Germany's coach for it's been 8 years now, maybe.
La Puente was one of those. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, Jaime. It kind of baffles me a little. Maybe you just don't like Piojo, but
I don't like him.
You don't have to.
I don't like him, and I don't think he should deserve a second chance at the national team.
Oh, but if you look at his numbers,
but he hasn't. We're talking about the past. We're not talking about his last couple of gigs. There's a reason why Tigres fired him, man. This guy is a fucking bum now.
Well, he
And also, like
criticized
his numbers, like I don't know what you mean by his numbers, because look, with Atlante, Monterrey, Tiburones,
Oh,
Tecos,
see, you're
Atlante, like
okay.
his numbers, he ranked them there. He even,
No, you're right. You're right.
and
I
then
should clarify.
after
You, we,
America, Tijuana, Tigres, like okay, he had a championships, but I mean, America gave him a lot as
from,
well.
from from Cholos, his numbers improved around the time he went to Cholos, and he made them very competitive. And then with America, he broke all type of records. His even like his win against all the clásicos, it was very favorable. Uh, and then just always being in Liguilla, that was another big one for him. So Cholos and then America, and then coming back to America, those numbers up. But yeah, if you go further back to when he started, when he was at Atlante and Tecos and was being relegated, yeah, those numbers, of course, they'll paint a bad picture. But the more current ones, from when we could say maybe he came into his own, they've been really good.
Yeah, hey, Jaime, don't get me wrong. I hate Piojo. I would love to fight him, man.
Just grab him by his neck.
I'll lose that fight if I go for the neck, man.
The one guy managed to grab him though. The one coach.
That's right.
Yeah.
I don't know if I was a
Death
team
grip.
owner. I know she's bashing on Argentinos for the national team, but I would go with a guy like Turco Mohamed. Same thing as Piojo. He's a ticky time bomb. But look at Turco. He's won titles with Monterrey, America, Tijuana, titles in Brazil. He's won Sudamericana. Like I feel like Turco comes in, gives you one great season, gives you the chip, and then like blows up.
Yeah. No, and I think so. Then again, this is the only reason I think Piojo's next is because of that. You know, it sounds like what the press is reporting that it's going to be a pretty short leash on Coca, right? If he doesn't win Nations League and
yeah, short leash from fans and media,
right?
Because that will put heavy pressure, and then that could pressure into the sponsors. But
So you're telling me this project's dead on arrival? He's kind of just like interim.
I don't think so. They don't know. I just think that
because if you're telling a coach, hey, we're gonna can you if you don't win the Nations League, what kind of fucking project are we doing then?
A shitty one.
Yeah, so it's like
but this is
they have no intention of keeping him if they're looking at the first sign of failure, they're gonna be like, you're out. Like I don't think you want to hold a coach's head. Like I don't think that's a very good way of like showing confidence in that coach.
But honestly, I don't think it's when I'm saying this, I don't think it's the committee or even the people that put him there. Similar to when Osorio was put there, and you had all this pushback after Copa America Centenario and the big 7-0, and everyone calling for his head, and they ended up keeping him. Separate, things are a bit different now because of Mexico failing in the past World Cup, and then you have Mexico hosting the World Cup, and then you have the TV rights that will be up soon. So that puts more pressure to kind of satisfy fans and sponsors because that's where the money comes from. So that's kind of more where it's where it would have to be like a total collapse for them to be like, all right, you know. But I do feel the media and the fans from day one are going to be very critical, and they're just going to be, you know, because the media's already sky is falling, Chicken Little, and making things.
You know, it's bad when everyone's already hoping for him to fail.
that's yeah.
Like, how toxic are we, bro? I'm sure if you go on Big Soccer right now, you'll find a thread that says "Fuera Coca" already.
That's cemetery though. Why? I think yeah. No, that's like going to the cemetery. I know Twitter and Reddit. I agree. There will be that, but I think people have underestimated Mexico. Like even from World Cup qualifying, they were already saying like, "Oh, they're being surpassed, they're bad, whatever, whatever." And I believe they ended up being the team with the best record on the road, and they qualified second, and they weren't that many points out from first. So they make it seem like it's really bad when it's not. And no team in the region even dominated Mexico or came close. Sure, the U.S. got the best of them off of penalty kicks and off of a golden goal, but that's way different from like when we saw Mexico when they were on beast mode and they will beat the U.S. 4-0, 5-1. You know, they will complete dominate, and no team has really done that aside from like
Chile.
well, one off in Honduras. No, in the region. I mean,
Oh, in the region.
Yeah, and aside from like maybe during Ojito's time, maybe in Honduras or that, but you really, I think what the last time, when was it that Nike, was it a Nike Cup when the US beat Mexico like 3-0? That was like in 97.
Yeah, but I mean, you're looking way too far back. I mean, even when
No, because I'm going
30-0 back then, what matters is the most recent results. And
no, what 30-0? There's no
field keeps getting more level.
Okay,
Yeah,
but
maybe
see,
they're not dominating.
I'm asking
we're
was,
not dominating them either.
but Mexico has never dominated them. That's my point too. Mexico has never really dominated them. We just the media has made it a big point. Like they didn't. If you just look at Mexico's record, World Cup qualifying, they've struggled most often than not. I think we just kind of get confused. Like so, for example, for World Cup '78, Mexico played all their games at Azteca, so they looked really good. But then they go to the World Cup and they get washed, right? But when they had to play in '82, when they had to play in Central America, they end up not qualifying. In '74 as well, when they had to play away, they end up not qualifying. '93 for '94 World Cup again, it took them to the last match against Canada. So I mean, they've always kind of struggled. I think the whole La Volpe did a disservice with the pasamos caminando, and he ended up having a weak hexagonal group.
Very weak.
It was just if you see the teams and the players. Yeah, and that happened. I think that's what happens a lot of times where I think Mex is strong enough that even the weakest Mex teams are still more competitive than the majority of CONCACAF. And that's not the same for these other teams where it's like, it's very noticeable. But then every now and then, Honduras, Costa Rica, all of these teams could put strong teams and they'll complicate everyone. I've seen US complicate Brazil, even Spain, and all these teams. And so when we act surprised when they do it to Max, like it's not allowed or they should, like how dare they? When it's like, dude, that's been the history of the World Cup.
No, but I think you made a good point with oh shit, we're echoing again.
Yeah.
Is that me or?
I think it's Joel.
Okay, hold on, I'm on mute.
Well, yeah. So I think it was a disservice when La Volpe made those comments, and yeah, when Mexico struggles in the qualifying, the media does blow it up way out of proportion because I agree with Joel. I do recall multiple times that Mexico struggled to finish in the top three, right, or top two rather, to qualify. But yeah, I mean, you got to remember that that's the World Cup for some of these Central American teams, man. So they're going to do whatever they can to screw it up for Mexico. So it's never easy. It's never an easy process for them. I think the easiest I saw, and I think they still qualified second, was Osorio.
Yeah,
like that was a pretty simple process for them. But again, he qualified second. And now the whole thing with the U.S. as well, it's cyclical, man. It's always been cyclical, or since the U.S. got a professional league. Mexico owned them for a while, then the U.S. owned for a while, Mexico owned again, and now U.S. has the edge right now. But But in most of those games, I'll agree that Mexico has not been, you know, what do you call it, dominated in any of them. They just lost. Simple as that.
Yeah. I had a thought, but then I lost it. Man, I think I'm getting old, guys. Yeah,
Talk to me when you're pushing 50, man.
My birthday's on the 27th, so fuck.
Of this one?
Yeah, this month. Yeah. But yeah, I mean,
Not 30 yet.
no, I'm in my 30s now. Yeah.
30s? Are you ready? Okay.
Yeah. It's gonna be. I remember. Qualifying in Central America and how they treat these matches as the like the World Cup. I saw some Central American activity last night in Champions League football. I didn't know they did that out there, but in the hotel where Real Madrid was sleeping at, Liverpool Scousers, should I say, took the liberty of setting off fireworks the entire night. And I'm like, where have I seen that before? Huh?
South America too happens a lot.
This is true. Did we lose Jaime again?
No, I'm here.
Okay.
We are coming up on the 2-hour mark, so I do want to give you guys the option of closing with the closing thoughts, anything that's on your mind, anything that you're seeing in Liga MX that you may or may not like. One thing I do want to add before we sign off, Chucky Lozano, man, having a great moment with Napoli, and Napoli themselves are fucking just chucking along over there in Serie A. They look like they're gonna win the league, and the way they're playing, who knows, man? They might have a deep run in Champions League, and it's nice to see a player like Chucky Lozano finally get his flowers, and he got the MVP today. So big news for Chucky today.
Yes, sir. And that player on Napoli, whose name I cannot pronounce,
The striker,
the guy from Georgia, the kid. Apparently, what his name is? It starts, the long ass name, the white one. I gotta look him up now.
I'll look it up. Keep going.
I'm even gonna look it up. I can't pronounce it. Kvaratskhelia or whatever his name is.
Just call him iChart.
He plays number 77 on Napoli. He's from Georgia. Long ass name.
Which Georgia? Because there's countries and cities.
Georgia.
With a name like that, the country.
His name's like Kishka Kvaratskhelia or something. I don't know. Anyways, he's considered Napoli's best player right now, and there's serious rumors that Madrid's looking into him. But him, Chucky, and him kind of getting each other's way. So apparently that would open the door for Chucky. But the thing is, Napoli's president had an interview with, I can't remember if it was Ene or who, but he said that his contract ends in summer 2024, and Chucky doesn't want to lower his wages, his salary.
Mm-hmm.
So if he doesn't want to lower his wages, they're probably gonna need to sell him this summer so he doesn't walk away for free.
Damn.
And they're trying to lower his wages because, let's be honest, he's finally taking off. But he's top 3 best players in that team, and he hasn't been the most consistent guy as far as starting, goals, minutes. So I think we might see Chucky lead to the Premier League this summer.
Or Tigres.
No, my miss.
Don't put that curse on him.
Ah, man. A move to the EPL seems inevitable. I would fucking love him in the Premier League or in La Liga, but we'll see what happens. I'm also a fan of him just staying in Naples and becoming a club legend like Maradona.
I think the Premier League would be a good fit for him.
Yeah, I think his style. I think he'd be perfect like for Newcastle.
Mm-hmm.
As far as Manchester United goes, they're gonna be selling the club, and I think it's between obviously a sheik and a local billionaire from Manchester. So curious to see what happens there. And we need another Mexican at Manchester United, man. I was watching that video of all the 50 goals that Chicharito scored, and I'm just like, fuck, man. It's can't believe it's been 10 years. So sad.
Well, we'll eventually it's somebody else, and then he'll go on to play for United, Madrid, become Mexico's all-time top scorer, and never be respected. I would say he's a lucky goal poacher that
and then play in MLS, right?
That helped him get there. That all his goals are lucky, and but in the rest of the world, he'll be respected.
Yeah, maybe he'll get a life coach at one point, and then his life coach will fuck his wife. Yeah.
Damn.
Joel, what you got for me, man?
Damn. I think I said it all with the whole merger stuff. Uh, I don't think it'll be like the leagues merging, but a creation of a cup in the same fashion as Champions League, and I do think it has the potential to blow up. I do think a big thing is like these years leading into the World Cup. I think it's gonna say a lot because especially we have that Copa America, right? That Copa America Centenario style, where um, or I should just say Copa America in the U.S. And then how they're talking about having a Gold Cup that's similar to almost like a Confederations Cup, where they're going to invite some pretty good teams from other countries, and then finally you have the World Cup, and you have all those tournaments, and if that manages to win over more soccer fans in the U.S., I do think then it opens the doors for something like that cup tournament to be successful. And I don't think it has to be like that that many of the population becoming fans. It could be like maybe, I don't know, 15%, maybe 20%.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that would, because already as it is, it outdraws like hockey and other stuff. So I mean, you get some more numbers. I do think, and because right here it's TV, so if it gets to that point with ratings become unquestionable, but you kind of see it with the women's one, but only for the women's. The the sad part for them is that it's only for the national team and only during the World Cup, where they'll have like 11 million viewers watching the game. So I mean, you already have, or I think what is it like between the Chivas America? I think it's like 2 million, and that's the highest rated soccer games in the U.S. 2 million. So if it gets doubled, we're looking at maybe 4 or 5 million. I do think that will eventually lead to that, and that's more opportunities for a lot of people, even like podcasters. Just kidding. Anyone that's into football, it just creates a lot of jobs. Ultimately, all type of jobs. Just like even now, like with MLS, when they're on, they want to do like almost 30 clubs. Dude, you could work. You know, I've seen a lot of people get jobs in clubs. So like if you're into soccer, a lot of times it's not easy to be a player. It's very difficult. It's less than 1% of of the kids trying out, which is like hundreds of thousands of kids trying out. Less than 1% will become pro. But I mean, there's still a lot of jobs if it's being a journalist, photographer, anything media. even working in clubs, doing a bunch of different things. There's a lot of jobs, and so that's a lot of people that want to be like close to the game or tied to the game. That there's just so many opportunities there.
Yes, sir. I'm excited. I've talked about it before. How the World Cup, it it created some sort of fever. It created some interest, and I even have close family friends and just casuals that have the bug, man, and they're starting to watch Champions League football, and it's all because of the World Cup. And I can't imagine what the next one is gonna do to soccer here in America. I think,
Jaime,
huh?
do you think it's also social media? Because now you wouldn't have to see a game. Like before, you would hear it, like, "Oh, did you see that?" And then maybe you wouldn't watch it. But now it's like you're on Twitter, you're on TikTok, and you're seeing clips of a goal or whatever story went viral.
I do think that the internet and social media does have a large influence because now you're more connected than ever, right? And you don't necessarily have to watch ESPN to keep up with the highlights or read Soccer Mania magazine or like nowadays the way we consume information is instantaneously, and you can even now it's even gotten to the point where the coach, like the Spanish coach, was broadcasting his press conferences on Twitch. Like we're getting to that point, with social media, Twitch, Twitter, TikTok, all that stuff. So yeah, I was that's obviously another a big factor with especially with the younger generation, Gen Z, because like the kids talking to me about, hey, tell me about the schedule for Champions League. It's like these are like Gen Z kids, man. Kids that I'm like, I've been waiting my whole life for you guys to talk to me about soccer, bro. I have, 20, almost 30 years of experience, and it's exciting. It's exciting to be able to have a beer with someone at a pub and talk about the sport that I love and that I've experienced my entire life, and sort of like pass it on to the next gen. And then like I was in San Jose over the weekend having a beer with my younger cousin who's like he's a Gen Z kid. He was born like in the early 2000s, and this was literally his first Guinness. And we're just talking about like soccer, and it was great. It was like a 2-hour conversation, and then even the people in the pub were started to chime in, and you could tell, man, you could tell that the World Cup had a huge impact on Americans. Like it was
Yeah,
people are now like trying to keep up. They're trying to be like, oh yeah, what's Messi doing now? Where's he play? And where's Neymar and Ronaldo and Mbappe? Like people want to know where these players play now for their club because it's very confusing to them. Americans don't really understand that you represent your country and you also have a full-time job with your club. It's like it's a hard concept for Americans to understand because they're used to just having like the NFL and the NBA and the MLB
pro-
where you don't really necessarily suit up for your national team.
probably just like the basketball with the Olympics, but
Yeah.
that's every what, like 4 years. Oh yeah, it's every 4 years as
Yeah.
well. But I mean, do they even care? I
Yeah.
never heard anything about, aside from that first time they sent the dream team way back in what was in '92, because they would always send like
Prospects
the
and young players, yeah.
yeah the university players I think,
Yeah.
but '90. But
And
yeah, I rarely hear talk of that, like you say, and that's the closest you get to like a national team with the NBA, where they could send their best players to represent the Olympic team.
And I would not be opposed to a 2-year cycle of the World Cup as to four. I know it loses prestige, but honestly, like I don't want to wait another 4 years to see a matchup between Mexico and Argentina, or like France versus what was the final? France and fucking Argentina. Like I don't want to wait another 4 years, and nobody else wants to either. They want to see
But
these
now you're
matches.
competing. But now you're competing for talent, which it probably opens the doors for more players. But it's like you're not gonna see like one, like it's almost gonna be a career thing where the players would be in the national team for 4 to 8 years
Yeah.
because you just can't do both. There'll be so many tournaments, and they'll probably have to expand and maybe have like 30, 40 players per team that they have to have on payroll because they don't pay right now. They don't. National team doesn't pay wages, so they kind of have them on a free loan from the clubs.
Mm-hmm.
But if it was every 2 years, qualifiers, you'd be stuck between qualifiers and all that. So they wouldn't it would just change everything. Qualifiers might even be different. Might even be like a league.
Yeah, it'd be interesting.
Yeah, I know. I hate waiting the 4 years, man. But I think doing it every 2 years would lose the mystique, man. That the thing that gives you that excitement, that rush that you're talking about, Jaime.
Let's compromise. Let's do 3 years.
Yeah, I like to count my life by World Cups, by what happens between World Cups. I don't want to count my life every 2 years. I track how much I've evolved compared to the last World Cup.
My wife definitely would not be able to handle me every 2 years if we had World Cups every 2 years.
I better hit the lotto because I always I use my PTO time for the World Cup, so that's not gonna fly if I gotta use a whole month every 2 years.
Jaime, the only thing I have left to go on for I guess this week is curious to see if Chivas has this tough matchup. They beat Monterrey. Let's see if they could beat Tigres.
We're going 6 for 6 in Nuevo León.
Would be nice, man. Chivas only lost one game this season, man, and that was against El Señor Nacho Cuadro, right? And so,
your boy, does Tigres even have a coach?
Yeah, Chimariz, way.
That's right.
Interim, but that's interim. He's not going to be the.
I think they'll keep him for.
They'll probably keep him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's my wonder, like if they can play well enough to defeat Tigres, man.
Tigres, man. Tigres been playing well, man.
Yeah.
I think Gignac might be injured, so we might not have to worry about him too much. And what's up with Linus, man? He goes to Mexico and he can't even get minutes here, bro. It's
I thought going to Europe made you a better player.
Kid's a bomb.
I thought going to Europe with the better training, the better vitamins, and the better coaching that you just improved. And what's going on right here, man?
It's a personal thing. The kid's a bum. That's what.
It's a bum.
I mean, it's like you could take the laziest bum in the world and put him at Harvard, and because he's not successful, it's not Harvard's fault. Because the dude's a bum. He's a bum.
Do you guys hear about that story about Eden Hazard?
Yeah, I did.
How one of his old ex teammates, they interviewed him and he was like, that guy was like the laziest guy. Sometimes he wouldn't even show up to training, but then, on Sunday, he'd be the best player and win Player of the Game award. But eventually, it caught up with him.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, youth, he got old.
But
I wonder if up with everyone. There's this video going viral of Jude Gandam warming up with America. Bro, he's not even trying. He's not even lifting his legs. Nothing. He's just like walking while everybody's actually doing a legit warm up.
Is he still like part of the team, or is he free agent right now?
I think he's still part of the team.
Oh.
And also another bum.
Yeah.
I'm surprised America bought him. I don't know what Ricardo.
I mean, they got him for free, bro.
Yeah, keep getting those MLS rejects.
I wonder if with Lainez, if Almada has one more reclamation project in him, man. He's able to bring back trophies, right?
Yeah.
Wait, that means you want to see him in Pachuca.
I want to see our players, progress and do well, man. And if Almada was able to turn around trophies, maybe he gets something out of Linus.
And he took Potro out of his coke habit, so.
Yeah. I think he's working miracles now. I think part of
for
it.
the national team, man. That should be the national team coach.
Sometimes we give some of these guys more credit. I remember my Chi hermanos making out Hans to be some type of messiah, as if he unearthed all these Chihuahua gems that had been with the club for like 10 years. All of a sudden, it's like this guy came in and he discovered them. Um, I think part of it. I mean, I do give him some credit, but like not. He played a role, but I don't think it's at 100. I do think Trophies eventually came to this realization where he's like, you know, the Grim Reaper was like right behind him because he was looking at rotting away in like second, third division. At
No,
this
and
point, nobody wanted him, and it's like, oh shit, no more pool parties, no more
it,
this, man.
no,
It's like,
and that's true. I agree. I think there might have been a little of that for Trophies, but if you're coaching, man, your players have to buy in, and whatever a
yeah,
lot of that was selling, also might have inspired Trophies too to
that
Well,
see
realize,
that.
okay,
think about it. It's a fresh start, man. It's a fresh start for a kid who the spotlight was just too big for him at Chivas. Let's be honest, man. It's different playing for Chivas than it is playing for a small club. And I think
yeah,
like at Pachuca, your roster is a lot different. Your squad's a lot different. You have foreigners, you have Mexican players, and they obviously have a great foundation. Like they have a great base team, and he's just added to it, and he just fits right in. I don't think that he would have found the same success had he returned to Chivas after his loan expired with the Earthquakes.
Yeah, everyone was saying that, but he had already like everyone was saying that she was like kind of dropped the ball or whatever. But it's like they're kind of ignoring the previous seasons with all these coaches, all of them trying to make him like
Dude, he had so
one of
many
the key.
chances. He got so
Yeah,
many
they all
chances.
they all kept trying to make him the key player. Almeida gives him the number 10. Thomas Boy, rest in peace, was telling them, dude, you don't have to do fancy play every time you touch the ball. Just keep it simple, man. It'll come to you. And all of these coaches and nothing. To me, it was what what to me told me like, oh, this checked out of Chivas was when he showed up to training like overweight. I was like, damn, dude.
Yeah.
The, the club just spent like 40, 50 million in refuerzos. You should be hyped. You should be coming in here like ready to compete because you were going to be, chances now were that you could get, you're fighting for minutes now because there's all these other players here. And you're like, God, dude, you could care less, dude. Showed up with his bag of squirt and some Takis.
with the chicharrones and a caguama, right?
Edgar haircut, a jarrito, and some takis, bruh.
he's,
This dude gave
checking his
no
insides.
fucks.
Yeah, he didn't. To me, I was like, oh fuck, dude, man. Because I was hopeful for this dude. Like,
Yeah.
I kept thinking, all right, this is the season, and nope, and then this and nope, and it just got to the point where I was like, all right, dude, this dude just, it's just not meant for to be for the club.
Yeah.
It's always like that. It was like that with Gaucho Avila. It was like that with
Fabian.
Trophies. It was like that with so many players. I think the next one is Perez Bouquet. Everyone has that hype over Perez Bouquet as well. Let's see if he's the one. The
Yeah.
last one was Chicharito to be the full real deal. So eventually another one will come through.
Never won any silverware with us though, and that hurts. I don't know.
Chivas has.
Dude, Chivas need to do whatever it takes to get him. We need a striker.
Chivas needs a limpia, dude. They're cursed.
Yeah.
A lot of these players that have had all this potential either end up getting injured or just don't work out for whatever. Like I really can't remember a really good solid number 10 at Chivas, right?
Shit.
Because
It's been since Boca, right?
but he never wore it. He wore number 100 and he wore number 7. Vedano Medina had the
Manalo
number
wore it.
10.
but he wasn't like
He wasn't a 10 though.
he had that injury, yeah,
Yeah.
and he was never as good as
Same.
he could have been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was
and
still great for us, but he wasn't, the player that
no,
we
this, well, yeah, this dude was Vela before Vela.
Mhm.
That's how highly rated. There's a match he played where he plays Brazil, and he's like 17,
Yep.
and he was juking them to the point that Ronaldinho goes and hacks him because he was making one of their players look stupid, and Ronaldinho comes and kicks him in the ankles, and he was like, "Hey,
Well,
you're messing up his contract to Valencia or whatever, dude."
my favorite moment with Vinal, because Vinal was one of my favorite players, and he had that debut against Brazil in El Jalisco, and he did a little samba. Oh, bro,
That's him. We're talking the same game.
That was the game, yeah.
He wasn't 17
that's-
though. No, he was old.
Yeah.
Was he? I don't
What
know.
year was it? We could check, dude.
This
We could check.
that friendly against
My memory
Brazil.
tends to lie now. My memory
That-
tends to lie to me a
That
lot.
friendly against Brazil and El Jalisco was like in the early 2000s. But
Let me see.
I'll find
Let's
it.
ask Google.
I have the YouTube
Let's ask
video
just
like
Google.
saved because that
I had a GIF saved.
yeah, that was beautiful.
Was that his debut? My memory tends to like do fan fiction and it'll rewrite stuff for me, and I could swear it happened that way.
That was his debut with the senior national team though.
Ah,
Yeah. That was such a great match too, man. I remember a few years later they did another match in Jalisco, Brazil, Mexico, and Fat Ronaldo was there too. And everybody was like booing him at the time because he was just like hella fat. Yeah. But those were very entertaining matches.
it was in 2003,
Damn.
and he was
2003.
born in '83. He was born in
So he was
1983.
20.
Okay, I'm not good at math.
Nah, yeah.
I'm no fui a la escuela. So I was off by 3 years. Tomato. Well, maybe less because he was born in May.
Hey, let's be
So
honest.
that-
3 years a big deal. That's the difference between jail and consent. Okay.
Oh my god.
He could have been 19 though, going to 20.
It's possible.
Yeah.
Very, very possible. Gentlemen, I will be jumping off here.
For sure.
Al, Joel, Jaime, a pleasure as always.
Yes, sir. Thank you for coming on.
Yes.
Hopefully Chivas get another dub over the weekend.
Yeah, he was a month away, so it was in April, and his birthday's in May, so he was 19. Okay, so my memory's not that bad. All right, sorry, go.
No, I just want to end with this. I'm not convinced with this Chivas team. They look more or less like they did when Dick Chain was the coach. The difference with Dick Chain was they just wouldn't get those lucky breaks that they're having this season. So like a lot of the matches that ended up in a draw that they should have won last season, now they're getting the favorable results. Well, that game against Tijuana on Wednesday, look, it took 2 PKs for them to get that victory. They haven't really looked that good at home. Now against Pumas, obviously they started off great, and it looked like they were getting some momentum going. And in the end, the second goal by Cisneros ended up being crucial. But boy, did I suffer in that match in the second half. They just looked like a completely different team. They sat back, they defended, and honestly, they were lucky not to get the draw. So, yeah, they did get 2 back-to-back victories, very important. They're 5th in the table, but I'm not convinced by these Chivas just yet. And I'm glad that they're getting the results. I'm glad that they're accumulating points and they're not losing. But that game against Tigres, I think we'll see if they're the real deal.
Well, I don't know, because remember, last season, we dominated Tigres that first 20, 30 minutes. We should have been up like 4-0.
Mm-hmm.
And then shit hit the fan or whatever, and then we got smoked like, what, 4-0?
Yeah.
But like we dominated them those first 20 minutes. We should have easily been up.
Yeah.
And then after that, the whole project came down. After that, the team just started losing every game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so this is the litmus test. You know, we'll see how they do on the road. They've been playing better on the road. And the only concern I have is our strikers, man. Rios is not the guy. This dude scored by complete accident. His header hit his shin or his knee, and then that's how he got the goal. But it was a terrible header, and I haven't been impressed with his performance. And the fact that they gave him the number 9, bro, he's not a 9, man. He's a 99.
You know who I saw score a first terrible goal?
Chicharito.
Chicharito with United versus Chelsea.
Well,
you
that wasn't his first goal. I mean,
What?
Necaxa was his debut goal as a professional.
No, I mean like with his team, like with his
Yeah.
new team. I mean, that was his first like official United goal in an official match, and he scored it with his face. Like, imagine if you were a United fan, you're like, "This is the guy we got? Really? Who is this bum?"
But he had scored on his debut for Manchester United. It was a friendly
That's true.
against MLS Stars. Yeah. But appreciate you guys hopping on. I do have some dates for our listeners. We have 5 Liga MX matches coming here in the States. So March 22nd over here in San Jose, Chivas will play Pachuca. Very excited to be covering that match. The very next day on the 23rd, America will play Santos in Carson at Dignity Health Sports Park. And then on Saturday, on the 25th, Chivas will be in LA, or Carson rather, to play Toluca at that same stadium, Dignity Health Sports Park. Sunday, America plays Tijuana in San Diego, Snapdragon Stadium. I don't know what stadium that is. And then also on Sunday, Toyota Field in San Antonio, Monterrey plays against Atlas. So if you're listening and you're in those cities, man, get your tickets, man, and catch some Liga MX for the FIFA March window. But I appreciate you guys so much. We'll catch you guys next week.